Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to a new toy topic. Today, I want to talk about 10 obscure action figures that you could get for somebody if you're looking at Christmas, because it's upon us. That's today. So yeah, Christmas is upon us, and it's an ever-growing problem. I know from experience. I'm a collector. I got a huge thing behind me, yada yada. Got stuff in the garage, got stuff here, got stuff in boxes, and it's always the idea, it's always the question, what do we get for somebody that literally has everything? Like, or that could just go and get anything they want. Like, what do we do? How do we buy? And people have collectors in their life. People have dads, moms that don't really do anything except for the whole, except for that part specifically. They have dads and moms that aren't into that kind of stuff, or maybe they are, but they're not into the same stuff as their kid, and then they find out that their kid has a bunch of stuff, or their husband has a bunch of stuff, or whatever, and what do you do? Like, after a while, you look at the shelf back there and you go, well, like, I know some stuff that he likes, but, like, how am I going to buy him Motu or something like that and have it be, have it work? I don't know. Like, and I get that. I very much get how hard it can be to do that. And this is going to be broken into two different kinds of lists, because I'm going to talk first obscure stuff that you might look into for somebody like that kind of sits on the off-skirts of normal things. So let's set the groundwork real quick. One, if this is an item, if it's an item that appears at a Target, at a Walmart, at an easy retailer that you could just walk in and get, don't buy it. Don't buy it. Because easy places like that, they probably go out of their way on a normal basis to go to those places and get the stuff they want. It's one thing to know what they're missing in a certain line and say, okay, and you can look at their shelf and whatnot. But we're just assuming that if it's from a main retailer, they've already got it. So this is going to include things like NECA. There's no reason to buy a NECA figure for your person because chances are they already have the NECA figure because it's easy to get. It's right there. We're going to talk about figures that are not that easy to get, that are removed, that you're going to have to go out of your way and more than likely going to have to go online to obtain. Let's talk about 10 figures that are completely awesome, that are obscure, you're not going to find them at main retail, and they're just cool enough to catch people's attention. And a side note, everything on this list is from my perspective, so it's things that I for sure like. But I think it's broad enough that you could fall into certain categories here and find something for somebody else that's not me. You get the idea? Let's get into it. Number 1, Dark Wolf. 112 scale action figure. It's up on Frank Frazetta. I believe it's called like Frazetta Girls right now. FrazettaGirls.com. You can get it right now. This is the Fire and Ice action figure. It's Dark Wolf. I mean, now for me, on a personal level, this checks all my boxes, right? But for the kind of person that likes Motu, and the kind of person that likes barbarians at large, and the kind of person that likes things like heavy metal, 80s type of stuff, for the kind of person that likes barbarians and swords and sorcery, this is right up their alley. It really is. Fire and Ice, Frank Frazetta, this is a fantastic figure. He's absolutely off the wall awesome. I mean, look at that. He has super high detail. He has replaceable mouth plates and whatnot. Like, he's just fantastic. I mean, this guy, for me, checks all my boxes. So I know, like I said, that we're talking about stuff that I like. But if you're buying for somebody that's sitting in the same league as me, that likes this kind of stuff, this is expensive, so there's a chance they haven't put their money into it yet. But I promise you, they would appreciate it, because this is not something they can just walk into a store and buy. And if they're currently buying 4 or 5 other lines, maybe they haven't been able to put their money into something this big. Dark Wolf. Number 2, you got somebody that's into superheroes? Maybe you have somebody that really likes Superman. Maybe Superman is their character. If you're going that route, maybe try Mafex. Why? Because Mafex doesn't release in stores like Walmart, and you're not going to find them on a Target shelf. At least I never have. And for this reason, I would tell you that the Mafex Superman sits at a number 2 spot because it is everything that a Superman fan wants. It has the hair curl, it has the dynamic cape, it has the original 80s costume, it has the fantastic face sculpt. This is a Superman. Mafex is one of those types of things where you buy the character once. If you're a person like me and you're looking to have the one definitive figure on the shelf and not buy 5 or 6 other figures, this is how you do that. Once you have this Superman on your shelf, chances are you don't need or want any other Superman. And it does come with effects. So you're looking at a Superman that has multiple faces. You're looking at a Superman that has multiple looks and multiple dynamics. You're looking at a Superman where it has the original costume. You're looking at a Superman where this is so good. This is so good on so many levels. I'm telling you right now, Mafex Superman. So good. Number 3. You could try something like 3-0. 3-0 is another one of those companies that's not going to appear at retail, and they are a bit pricey, but they're pricey for a reason. They do a lot of 1/6 scale figures, and they do really cool stuff like Spike from Cowboy Bebop. They wear real clothes. That's one of the selling points to these figures is they're highly dynamic and they have actual artifacts of clothing. So if you look at something like the Putty from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, if you got a Power Rangers fan, Putty, Ultimate Putty, right? If you have somebody that's, say, a Stranger Things fan, right there. You have a character, he has all of his clothes and everything. Like, that's the selling point, is he has these real clothes. They're almost a kickback to things like Mego, but at a much higher, really cool idea. They do G.I. Joe, so if you have a G.I. Joe fan, that's your hit right there. They've got Storm Shadow that's already out. They've even got really crazy things like this red suit right here. They also do off-the-wall Power Rangers. So not just normal stuff, but you also got bigger stuff that spans the expanded universe, like the Ranger Slayer, which would be cool to go at. And if you got an Iron Man fan, bam, they got you covered. And you're not really going to find a better Iron Man, at least not that I really know of looking around, than what you're going to find right here. Are these expensive? Yes, but you could dive into aspects like Robotech, which you are not going to find much Robotech out there, especially not Robotech that's worth buying. And for the quality that you're going to pick up at $150 for something like that, this is a line that might be worth looking into. It goes as deep as anime properties like Berserk, while also being just as easy as other properties that we've seen 1,000 times like G.I. Joe and so on and so forth. This is the kind of line that you can find something for the person you're looking for. I mean, look, Walking Dead, right? This was a show that was absolutely huge, that featured with a lot of people, and even today still has its fans here and there. Is it as big as it always was? Of course not. But nothing's as big as Walking Dead was for very long. But hey, you want an awesome Rick Grimes or other characters of the sort? It's going to cost you, and maybe that's the reason they haven't bought it, but it would be an absolute centerpiece to somebody's collection. Yes. Number 4, I would suggest you try something like Super 7. Super 7 it's a little iffy. You do sometimes find these at Walmarts. You do sometimes find these at Targets and things of that nature, but not very often. And when you do, it's not a very high picking margin in which you have to get these things. Now, The cool thing about Super 7 is that it digs into a lot of lines. You can get Power Rangers from this line. You can get fantastic Ninja Turtles from this line. You can get really good classic G.I. Joes from this line. You can dig into things like Silverhawks from this line. You can even go as far as to dig into Bruce Lee from this line. However, I would argue that I've seen better Bruce Lees. This is my personal opinion, but that doesn't mean that somebody else that's a huge Bruce Lee fan might find something really super unbelievably appealing here. The G.I. Joes that they do, and this is an entire wave, but the G.I. Joes they do are more akin to the original classic G.I. Joes, and that could be an absolute selling point for some people. You're also figuring the Ninja Turtle line that this company does is really solid. I'm talking about Ultimates. They dig into things like Thundercats, things of that nature. This is a really solid possibility if you're looking for somebody that's into a lot of different things and you don't quite know where to go and you don't quite know what they want, but you have a general idea of the things they like. And this is something they have to go out of their way for. So chances are you could easily figure out what Super 7 they have and what Super 7 they don't have pretty easily, I'd imagine. Number 5, Storm Collectibles. This is something that I've dabbled in here and there. They handle some pretty decent properties, and a big thing that they handle is video games. So if you're looking for highly posable, highly detailed video game figures, this is where you go. This has things like Darkstalkers Morgan. It's pretty cool, and it's not something you're going to come across normally. These things are, of course, pre-orders and things of that nature. You understand that. But there are a couple things already in stock that are Darkstalkers that you could find in places. They also handle things like Fist of the North Star, so there's some good anime in here. They handle Samurai Showdown, and there's a good rank of people that are already out there that you can get from the Samurai Showdown lines, including Omaru and other characters of that nature. I don't think Earthquake is out in any form yet, but there are a couple of different things from this line that you could easily get your hands on, including things like, say they're into something like Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat has a good selection of characters already in this line that you could get your hands on and be pretty happy with, including this crazy $200 Liu Kang that comes with the dragon and everything. Chances are, if your collector is trying to save money, this is not something they have. Now, this is a sold-out thing here, but you could possibly track some of this stuff down, is what I'm saying. A lot of this stuff stays in stock pretty often because it is pretty expensive. So, an original series type, like the original Reptile right here, you could get Reptile at $100. If you're not into Reptile, Kung Lao is right here, currently in stock. He's a little less than $100, but you're still looking at $90. The point I'm making is that these characters are expensive. You want Liu Kang with just the dragon in general, but not the fire dragon? There, I already found him, just like that. Some people are really into Mortal Kombat. So this would be a safe bet for somebody that's into Mortal Kombat. And with characters like Kung Lao, with characters like a more classic version of Reptile, with characters like Kentaro, this line is fantastic, and I have bought from it a couple of times because I specifically have bought the Golden Axe figures, in which seem to stay in stock pretty well, actually. You can still get your hands on pretty much the entire main hero cast. In fact, you can get your hands on the entire main hero cast. There's Gilius Thunderhead, there's Tyrus Flare, and there's Axe Battler. Axe Battler being literally the only one in this line I have not got my hands on because he's pricey. And that, in turn, is what I'm trying to tell you, is that I realize the idea that everybody has trouble with money, okay? And a collector who's constantly spending and constantly buying things that they like, chances are their money runs low on the average pretty often. So, if you have a chance to bulk their collection with an absolute stellar piece, like, say, Taki, which I have on pre-order, actually, because that's one of the ones that I was like, I can't let that pass me by. But look, There's statues. This company does some really solid stuff. Now, this is like getting into the $500 range and stuff like that. So we're gonna be realistic here. Probably $120, depending on, maybe even $200 depending on who you're talking about. But then again, I've seen where like a girlfriend will buy their boyfriend a PlayStation 5 or something like that. So maybe this money isn't such a big deal if it's a $200 absolute stunning figure that's going to go on the shelf and he doesn't have the money to buy it, or she doesn't have the money to buy it. There you go. Storm Collectibles got you covered there. Number 6, let's talk about Mafex in general, because like I said, if your guy, your girl, your friend is into comic books, this is where you go, man. These are dramatically powerful figures from one of the best Spider-Mans literally ever released. Absolute unbelievable posability and fantastic structure to easily one of the coolest Storms that we have ever seen, ever in all of toys, period, with one of the greatest face sculpts I have ever witnessed. Going down the line, we're talking about Cyborg Superman here. Yes, almost every single Mafex character is going to run you $100, if not more. But wow, if they are not worth it. Look at that Huntress. Absolutely stunning. Remember I was talking about Superman? Maybe your person has an exact Superman that they like, right? Maybe you're talking about The Dark Knight Returns. That's a very different kind of Superman. You can find that here. Can't get enough of that Magneto? Want to take that helmet off? Look at this. Mafex is one of those things that you hear that they're coming out with a character and you buy it. If you're a Cyclops fan, if you're a Spider-Man fan, if you're so-and-so, it doesn't matter. Look, chances are that once you get your hands on a Mafex character, a figure in general, you're done. You're done. Like, let us be honest here. If you bought that Joker, that animated series Joker, are you worried about the McFarlane Toys animated series Joker after that point? Maybe not. Now, you could argue, because there's always something to argue, that sometimes people don't like certain things that are done in Mafex. Some people don't like certain joints and whatnot the way they're done. And yeah, that's an argument to be had. But what I'm saying is that chances are you're going to find something here that's absolutely, look at that. That's stunning. Mafex. I swear by it. I have yet to actually buy into Mafex myself. But there's a reason. Look at the prices. When you run on a budget like I do, you have $100 a paycheck that's your money, which only gives you about $50 a paycheck to spend on figures. I spent $50 this paycheck. I'm done. And chances are I'm going to have to save back $25 just to be able to get my hands on one Mafex character, one Mafex figure. So unless I'm specifically waiting for the perfect figure to pop up, chances are, if they're like me and they're on a budget, they don't own any of these. That doesn't mean they're not looking at them. And number 7, I would like to talk about 112. 112 Collective does some absolute stunning stuff. Like some really top-of-the-line, really cool stuff. And I have only bought into them once. I bought a Wonder Woman from this line that was absolutely fantastic. Mezco Toys is shocking. That's what the 112 series is from. It's Mezco Toys, and Mezco is awesome. It's really awesome. It digs into some really cool stuff. Has an absolutely sharp Wolverine. Haha, sharp. But really, multiple faces, different ideas, options. Comes with a Sentinel that's already torn up, effects. This is really top-of-the-line stuff. Mezco is really cool. And, remember I was talking about Superman? On a personal level, I tend to like the other Superman that we were talking about. But if your collector loves figures with actual clothing, actual costumes, here's the Superman right here. And it's not just Superman, it's so much more. I mean, they even go as far as to have some Silent Hill stuff going on in here. So if you want your Pyramid Head, if you got somebody that's really into that Silent Hill series and they only collect what they can find or whatever, there you go. I mean, we're talking Ultraman going all the way into this collection. Look, Mezco doesn't mess around. They got some absolutely fantastic figures. And the 112 series is easily one of the best series you can get, including this absolutely stunning Conan. It's not coming till like July. But check this guy out, man. Right? Holy crap. I mean, Mezco, man. These are some sharp figures, I'm telling you. Number 8, let's talk about executive replicas, because this is another group that is really fantastic right now. This is the group specifically that I bought my Red Sonja from, and I was nothing but satisfied. It was an absolutely fantastic figure. It sits on the shelf. It's absolutely one of my treasured pieces, and when I bought it, it caught my attention that they also did Vampirella. And yes, this is another figure that would be really cool to put on my shelf. It is an absolute hard adult lean, and that's something that this company does pretty well, is it doesn't shy away from doing the more adult properties like heavy metal. See? That's really cool. So you can get things from them that you can't find in a lot of other places that won't be toned down or have to play to the aspects of something like when Marvel Legends or something of that nature is released in the market. So they can be fairly brazen and get some pretty crazy stuff on the market. Like specifically things like Hell Witch here and things of that nature, which are way more adult-driven nature, some pretty crazy stuff that you see going on here. Basically, you could buy that and you could basically make your own Emma Frost off of this. Like that would be an absolutely fantastic. You could customize that and make an Emma Frost easily, and it's going to be $70 when it releases. Most of these are decent. They run in the range of about $70 to like $130, depending. And most of the ones that run at $130 or go up to that kind of scale are usually looking at being like something special. Like it's going to come with this bird and a bunch of extra stuff and whatnot. So it's not the same thing. Where Sonja ran about $80 when I got her, and Vampirella will be about the same, and as well as other characters in general. And like it's got this really cool Wolfman thing that's coming out soon. Like this is a pretty stellar line. It really is. You can get some really cool stuff from this group. And if your collector is into more obscure things, this might be where you want to look, because this is where you're going to find certain things like the Rocketeer and so on and so forth. Let's move on. Number 9. Let's talk about Mythic Legion, because this group is awesome. Mythic Legion specializes in stuff that just simply isn't sold anywhere else. I mean, that's the only way I could think of it. You're looking at hardcore D&D-esque inspired, really cool figures here. And you can find some of the coolest stuff you have literally ever found by looking through Mythic Legion. I'm telling you, if your collector is into off-the-wall, cool D&D-esque stuff, this is where you come. This is where you come to find that kind of stuff. Maybe your collector is into things like a wizard. There. Wizard. You got a D&D player that literally plays every single night at the table as a wizard? Get that for them. They have a wicked prop that goes along with all of their storyline campaigns now. You got a person that always likes to play the gladiator or is really into gladiatorial stuff? Bam. Gladiator. Look through Mythic Legion and you will find time and time again really cool stuff. You like your Dark Elf Wizard? Bam, right there. And she is absolutely stunning. She is really cool. And just goes on and on and on. Skeleton Man? Bam, Skeleton Man. These are simple things inspired by mythology ideas, inspired by D&D, inspired by Conan the Barbarian-esque swords and sorcery stuff, giant evil Batman thing? Sure. Bam. This is where it's at. If you got a person that's into D&D, into swords and sorcery, into this kind of stuff, this is an easy buy. Because even if they don't know the character or relate to them at all, which most of these are not actually like characters, that's not the way that this works, this is where you're going. I'm telling you, Mythic Legion is an absolute. It's so, so good. Let's talk about my 10th mention. Kyoto. And I believe that's how you say this. But this group is for hyper stylistic figures. That's the best way I could put it to you. That's the best way I can put it to you. Amazing Yamaguchi Superman. Look at this. These things are about posability and just hyper style. Everything about them is hyper stylistic, from the cape, from the way that they're segregated and everything, the way that it moves and the different faces and just the extreme anime stylings. And this is just Superman. There's a lot of other characters. Say you want your anime figure to specifically be an anime figure and be hyper stylized. This is where you go, man. Look at My Hero Academia, okay? Look at that. Could you have done better? Is he not exactly what you're expecting? This hyper-stylized, ridiculous, no man like this could ever exist. Look at him take these poses. The dramatic ability that you get from this company, shocking. I mean, it is. It's absolutely shocking. It stands out in literally every single thing that it does. You want your Spider-Gwen? Look at that. Now, I will admit to you, this is a company that I look at in passing. I do have my problems with it. But some people have really looked past those problems and they don't care at all. And I'll use Spider-Gwen to point out some of my problems. Right here. Things like her feet, her ankles, her arms, her shoulders, her elbows. If you've noticed, I review a lot of Masterverse here, and I like the fact that they have the elbows and they have the double knees and things of that nature. This company doesn't have that. They go more for hyper stylized, really cool stuff like shiny plate Superman here on all the blue with the cape that's all segregated and everything, and it looks cool and you can do all these super poses and everything. This is cool. And if this is what you're looking for, if this is something you're into, if you want your Spider-Man to just be like, because here, like, look, there's a Spider-Man right there, right? I don't like this. On a personal note, I don't like this. But the reason I point it out is because some people like this. And I get that. You want this hyper-stylized, can move any way, can do almost anything Spider-Man? This is him, man. Look at that. Look at the dynamic range that exists in these figures. And I can completely understand why people get into them the way they do. All the way down to C-3PO, right? I mean, you want a hyper-stylized, can move any way you want him, C-3PO? To be fair, he's not that great. But look, I'm telling you, you can get some really cool stuff out of this group. The way they do their figures is incredibly unique. Look at that. Are you ever going to see something like that? Is anything else going to look on your shelf like that and have that ridiculous cape? That's a straight Spawn cape right there. They don't do actual cloth. They just do these crazy multi-connected bunch of wings, bunch of ideas, fabrics in plastic capes that are movable instead of just being plastic. They are cool. And specifically what gets them noticed is their hyper-stylized movement that they can create with characters. And for some characters, it works beautifully. Because let's be honest, he already kind of looked like that, so you can get away with it with characters that are literally basically designed that way in the first place. This is a cool group. You could find some really cool stuff this way. On a personal level, I'm not really into it, but this isn't necessarily about me. It's to give ideas to people that are looking for ideas. And that's all. That's all. That was 10 possible companies to look into. Companies that are not appearing on Target shelves. They're not appearing on Walmart shelves. They don't appear on Best Buy shelves or whatever. Chances are you have to go out of your way to find these. And that could help you if you have a younger collector or maybe even an older collector that doesn't really do the online thing. If you have a guy that constantly frequents sites or constantly frequents, like sites like Wally's, or goes to Walmart, or goes to Target, or goes to any of these big retail stores and constantly looks for figures, chances are they're probably not buying something like this. And so it's not something they're going to come across very often, and it's something that you could surprise them with and say, hey, here's something I know you don't have. This is wild. I've never seen anything like this on your shelf. And there you go. Like, these are just 10 possible company ideas, along with 2 like direct quoted figures. This list started, and I do everything real time, and I started thinking about it. Literally, I got 2 characters in, and I said, you know what, I could go character and character, but I need to give people options of what they're looking for specifically. And if I gave you companies and things like that, you could I did all of this just by basically going to Big Bad Toy Store, and you could look through their stock, and you could check out different things like that. Or you could just go to like all brands or all companies or whatever and just click around, and you'll maybe find something that your collector doesn't have, something that doesn't go to the stores, something that you need an outside retailer like Big Bad or Entertainment Earth or something of that nature to get to, because I get it. It can be really hard to shop for collectors because chances are if we want it, we already went and got it. But if we're buying a lot of figures, like constantly buying Marvel Legends, chances are you could find something in Mafex or something of that idea that they simply don't have because they're not shopping that way. It's very possible. And at the same time, know your collector. That's another thing I'll tell you. Know your collector, because it's important to know, do they only collect Marvel Legends? Because then if you buy something off this list, you're not exactly doing them a favor. Anyways, I hope it helps somebody, and maybe it just gave you some ideas. Maybe you didn't know some of these companies in general. Maybe you were like, what, that's a thing? Because some of these are buried inside of Big Bad Toy Store, and you got to go like out of your way to actually get them. They don't often feature. No, some of these do, but like not everything features on the front screen every day. You know what I mean? So chances are maybe you didn't know about a certain figure, maybe you didn't know about a certain line, maybe you saw me click buy something that you were like, what was that? If so, awesome. Anyways, guys, that's enough. That's 10 possibilities that you can look into for your collector. More obscure things that you won't find in the stores. I'm going to get out of here.
I have spoken. Take what you will from it.